when you go into anything, have a target of how you want to exit, have an end goal in mind. That's a big lesson because what I've learned is if you don't have a target, you become the target.
All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. I got an update for you on a case study that I might have mentioned once before, but I'm not sure that I have. So we're going to do this as though it's a live, real-time look at an ongoing case study from one of our members. So I will place the disclaimer, as you've probably heard me say on other podcasts. The results are not necessarily typical. Who's showing up today doesn't always show up and do the work. Not everyone is capable of building or growing a business, even though they might still try, because that's part of the learning and growing and imperfect process of becoming a business owner. So what you will hear today is someone who has gone through a tough walk, a tenacity, difficulties in getting this going, learning through the curves, switching up his mindset, and watching him just flourish in growing his business because he was doing and willing to do the things that others are not willing to do. If that's you on the podcast listening right now, then maybe you want to tune in because what we're going to talk about today with Kelly might resonate with you. And as always, like, share, comment, and engage so someone else who is listening to this today might get some value out of today's podcast. So that's my full disclaimer. Results may not vary, mileage may vary. Kelly, what do you think about that?
You pretty much hit it on the head. This is something that you have to pay attention to. It's not a side gig. It's not something you just put up a site, walk away, and then the universe sends you money. It's something you have to build. And that's the greatest thing about it, is it's something that you build yourself.
Yeah. Now, you're not familiar to business, which some people, in terms of doing it yourself, some people are more, they've gone the W-2 route, haven't really run a business, but you've had quite an experience from building companies to being a winemaker, even a racer.
Yeah, used to race a little bit.
And radio stations and other things, man. There's a lot to unpack to your life, bud.
Yeah, I grew up next to everything I learned in business. I think I learned growing up next to Riverside International Raceway. All the big race car drivers, all the big entrepreneurs would be there. And I and one other kid were the ones who snuck under the fence and got into the pits and met everybody.
Yeah.
And so by the time I was 9 years old, I knew probably 20 self-made millionaires. And that's in, late 60s, early 70s money.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the reason, I started cutting lawns when I was 9 years old. And I've always tried to be an entrepreneur. I've never wanted the W-2 thing.
I think some of us are naturally inclined to feel that way. We just don't always have the time, sometimes not the feeling of aptitude or experience, the confidence level to figure out, maybe even a pathway to figure out what the heck we were even going to do. Because I've pivoted maybe 8 times in my 20-year career, and it sounds like you have as well, through things that others would look foolish, but I call it blind optimism.
Well, I felt the same way. And I felt, because I started out in radio, I worked my way through college at LA radio stations. And so I had this radio background. Then I got into direct marketing and copywriting in that area. And, what I really want to do is direct movies. I'm still waiting for that to happen.
Cool. You never know. I got some friends I should hook you up with who are in the movies.
I thought this was just so splintered. And, oh my God, I've thrown my life away doing all these crazy different things. And you get to the 90s and the internet's invented, and it's like, oh, audio production, video production, direct copywriting skills. I mean, because the internet is one big direct marketing machine.
It is.
And
on one level or another, right?
I was kind of being guided into these areas.
But you felt there was an urge. You've had I don't know what we call it in maybe layman's terms, a sense of urgency.
Always.
Maybe the guy who doesn't sit down and gets antsy and has to keep moving, and maybe got an idea a minute and you're always thinking of different things or ways to improve things or ways to change things. It's kind of maybe a natural aptitude of your person. Is that a fair way of saying it?
I think it's called ADD, isn't it?
ADHD. They did come up with a term for people like us that would be drugged if we were in school today for that attitude.
I think they did a thing. Somebody said something. I think they did a study on CEOs at major companies. And came out with 70% of them have ADHD or ADD.
And more than 80% of them don't have a degree for that reason, because we simply couldn't sit still and couldn't finish that process because it made absolutely no sense to us. Yeah. And I get that because that was me. And when the internet came on, I'm like, nope, I'm out. The music scholarship will just have to die, along with my dreams of living in a van down by the river. So I just was out of there and was on to, go. So you know what that's like. But you pivoted through these things. You've been around direct response, marketing, television, and radio. and want to get to some media on the movie side, but you have always had kind of that idea of branding. You've had that kind of is it a natural instinct, a tendency to just like making things, creating stuff? Is
I
that kind of
think,
like somewhere?
well, I'm a creative person. I was a writer. I've done a lot of creative things. And I think anybody who tells you business isn't creative doesn't know what they're talking about.
I've never heard the word creative
Yeah,
finance.
it's like these people say, oh, it's just business. It's not personal. Business is the most personal thing you ever do.
100%.
And it's one of the most creative things you ever do. So when I look at something, and especially the older I get, number one, is it going to be fun to do? Am I going to
Yeah.
be interested? Is it going to be
Yes.
fun? Number two,
Yeah.
is it creative? Is it something? Am I able to do something new that people haven't seen before? And that's that's where Voltage was a big deal to me, because it allowed me to innovate and create something that was never there before.
Mhm.
It might be similar, but I'm putting my own brand on it. I'm putting my own spin on it. I'm changing it. And that's what really was the allure for me for getting into this.
Yeah. And I forgot to ask at the beginning of this during my little 30-second speech, have you been coerced, detained, forced, or incentivized in any way to come on this call today? I forgot to
Well,
ask
hell
that.
yeah, I've still got the marks. I mean,
Yeah. Not that
it
way.
was a bad night, man. I don't know where you hired those guys from, but they've got to get back to Guantanamo soon.
Yeah. You're
No, of
not
course
helping my
not.
case.
I mean, you guys changed my life for the better. It was a really great thing. And it's kind of funny I'm sitting here on your podcast, because the first time I ever saw you was watching your podcast.
There you go.
So, and here we are.
Thank you for
And
being one of my 10 viewers. I appreciate that.
well, I was I was looking for something to do. I had a few extra bucks, and I didn't, so I'm looking at things, and I looked at some real estate stuff, and I've always been interested, because, I've been involved in the internet since 2000, or since 1999. One thing I didn't put down there was I used to own an online casino for a brief
An
period.
online casino?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a venture.
Back when it was legal. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say you used to. Now it's legal betting.
Yeah. Now everything's coming back legal again. But at the time, it's like Janet Reno was out there going, we're going to put all you people in jail.
On that wacko.
Anyway, so I've been involved in the internet for a long time. And I just, it was just a natural progression for me to want to do e-com, because I saw what other people were doing, and it just got bigger and bigger every year.
Yeah. Yeah, it is getting bigger and bigger every year. And I think people kind of miss that because they get caught up in the idea of not knowing what to sell and thinking there's no good ideas. And they see more people fail than succeed, which is basically a condition of business, isn't it?
Of course. And the thing that took me a long time to learn is, they do not teach this in college. So, it's, there's a joke. It's like they teach everything at Harvard Business School except how to fail. And, it's so true, because failure is the most important thing that you need to conquer and learn, because it's not failure, it's data. There's no such thing as failure. And you ask any billionaire, and it's not in the vocabulary. It's just a setback. I mean, everybody goes to, oh, the light bulb with 5,000, but that's true with so many things. That's why the thing that nailed me the most when I was watching you, and then when I talked to you again, was the process, and the process that you guys use that we all use, is test. You throw up a test. If it doesn't work, you're not out a lot of money, but you test. And Amazon is just another test. It's just another test, because we go to Amazon first because it has all of that data. Back in the olden days of like 2 years ago, you could stay on Amazon and just make a great living for yourself. But now we've got to go multi-channel. But all that data from Amazon helps us go multi-channel. Now we can go in multi-channel with a level of certainty that we didn't have before. Yeah. And that's very exciting.
That is very exciting. And especially with the most recent updates, Marketplace Pulse telling everybody 49.7% of all online sales are coming from Amazon and Shopify. Third, very close, is TikTok. So if you're on that tripod, you have yourself a real business with more than 50% of the US e-com market coming to your doorstep in one of those three places. There's not really a whole lot of other things you need to do except focus. focus down on what the data is showing you about those channels and which particular product variations are being supported by which channel. I think that people get somewhat confused about that. I'm just going to clarify that here for a second. And that's, if I have a winning product on Amazon, it doesn't mean it's going to win on TikTok. What you find is variations of that product can sell
Right.
differently. We have a brand, for example, that sells bamboo products, and one particular version of the product 3-line SKU goes very well on Amazon, but we can't get the other ones to move at the same pace, conversion, and profitability. They're doing okay. But we sent all those to TikTok and started optimizing the TikTok. And within 90 days, we sold out of the other products that weren't selling as fast on Amazon. We sold out of those faster than we expected to on TikTok. So because that's the product they chose from our brand when they had all the options. And we, of course, saw a halo effect of those two channels rise up. And now we've stocked up, 6,000 units are inbound to make that thing really hum on the TikTok side. But you have to know how to balance that data between which products and SKUs are after. That's why we don't do just one product. And as you astutely pointed out, that's why we test multiple products, up to 5 main variations, 5 main products, where you just don't know. If the data will tell you, and you got it. And that's amazing.
Right. And that's the other thing is different demos. So yeah,
Yes.
everybody has different demos. So you're going to have different sales patterns. And, but going into any of this armed with nothing, with no data, you're just looking to be abused by the market.
You're going to get abused by a system that will voluntarily abuse you if you're not careful. Absolutely. All these platforms do it. But you've been learning some great lessons, Kelly. What is some of the maybe top 3, since you weren't selling an e-com, really, if I'm not mistaken, prior to coming here?
I did. What I did with my agency was we did a lot of launches.
Okay.
So we did network launches. And that was a process that used to work real well, where you do a bunch of videos and get somebody semi-famous come in and basically turn a launch into an event.
Okay.
So we do that. So lessons. Yeah. Number one, I would say when you go into anything, have a target of how you want to exit, have an end goal in mind. That's a big lesson, because what I've learned is if you don't have a target, you become the target. If you're, like with me, I want to exit in 3 to 5 years. Same thing you guys want to do. And so that's what I'm moving towards. And you can kind of gauge how you're doing along that timeline. If I just go into something and say, oh, I want to make a bunch of money off of this, well, then you have no roadmap. You have nothing. So that's the biggest thing. And that just comes out of your product launch playbook. That's a terrific map that you guys have. And anybody could pick that up and just go, oh, I mean, if I found that on the side of the road somewhere, I could pick that up and go through it and go, wow, this makes sense. Okay. Well, there's so many things in here I didn't know. Okay. But anybody with relative intelligence can go, just like any other SOP, any other good SOP. Anybody, a great SOP should, and this is another thing I'll share with you. When you're writing standard operating procedures, right? No matter if you're McDonald's hamburgers or you're a one-person shop, you have to have standard operating procedures. You can't get up and do something completely different the next day than you did before. And they've got to be clear, because if you're ever going to turn this into a business from a job, you're going to have other people doing this for you. And the only way you can do that is to document what you're doing along the way. Mm-hmm. You don't try to do it all at once when you hire somebody, because then you got 3 months of training you how to train the employee. You document this stuff as you're going along. Keep a journal, and then keep it digitized, because when you go to hire somebody, you go, okay, here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I think the third thing is failure. I've failed many times, and we talk about that, but it's just data. So the thing, if you get a test that doesn't work on your first try, do another product. Just keep going, because you will eventually hit. And one thing I learned by hanging out at the racetrack was, tens of thousands of spectators, everybody's moving around, and there was a security guard at every checkpoint that I had to sneak through. And what I noticed was, if I just jump into the crowd and act like everybody else,
right,
I go in. And so what I realized from that is that if somebody else is doing it, you can do it too. All I need is one example, right? All I need is one person to summit it, and then I know I can summit too.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also realize that, there's a process for getting to success. It's not an end game. It's not a one and done. There's a lot of mistaken, coaching gurus, direct marketing online, which, like you said, is a big part of the online world, that comes in and tells you, well, just do this one thing and this outcome is going to be proven. It's guaranteed.
Oh
Right.
yeah, I blew my nose last week and made $70,000.
That's selling Kleenexes on onlykleenexes.com. Yeah, there's all kinds of fun ways to make it work, but at the end of the day, it really isn't rocket science when it's a process. And I think that's where people kind of get confused, where they get stuck. And sometimes they get stuck in that process. Is there any part of it you got stuck in that you felt
Well,
was,
I had a bad year. I was kicking major butt. I mean, because it was new, it was fun. I mean, every day I'd learn something new. The coaches were great, and so I got a lot of info hand holding from the coaches. So like every day my mind was blown. The weekly training. It was so much new information to be taking in, and very exciting. And then my daughter had a big accident, really messed up her foot, and I was basically her primary caretaker. She had like two surgeries, a lot of metal. It's she can't keep certain things at the airport anymore.
right?
And so that really slowed me down because that I was ready to like start, ordering for my first test, and that was in July, and I came
Hmm.
on in May, so I was
Hmm.
I was doing great. And then that happened, and it took me out for 2 months, and then I got sick, and I ended
Hmm.
up at the hospital. That was another 2 months, and so I didn't really order until December of last year
Yeah.
or the year before, and
6.5. Yeah.
yeah, and then there was problems with Chinese New Year and blah blah blah. We had back and forth a little bit. So I didn't really like do a test until May, a
Hmm.
full year after I'd been in. It should have been 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. And that happens. I mean, I think that's a realistic understanding. That's why we give people a year, actually, because we're well aware that life gets in the way of challenges. There's a learning curve that has to be done. But when you think about it, some people are going, well, what did you do in that first year? You actually didn't do anything. That was entire waste. And others will look at it and say, well, that was a 1 year of training for a 5 year plan. That's not a waste,
Yeah,
right? That is
yeah,
actually just
exactly.
a part of the plan, it's part of the process for me to look and say, well, I have a 5 year plan. I'm only in the year one of it. So I'm not really behind by any measure, although you could say, a yardstick is a yardstick and you didn't measure it right. But at the end, the point is you're going to get there, right? You're on your way there and you did get launched.
Yeah, and I did get launched, and it went very well. And it would have been very easy to just back off and say, this isn't what I expected because I didn't expect to have these circumstances in my life, and so I no longer want to put this amount of effort into this.
Yeah.
But this is a skills game. What you taught me were skills, and it's kind of like if we were survivalists or something, you taught me how to like survive in the wild. Like if I never saw you or dealt with voltage again for the rest of my life, I'd still know how to do this, and I'd still know how to make money. I mean, you've given me a brand new skill that I can apply over and over and over again. And yes, things are changing and they're changing fast. You've got AI, I mean, at a blistering rate.
Hmm.
But the bare bones of this is making something that people want and need and figuring out a way to
Going to
get
be
it
in
to.
demand. Yeah. It's going to stay in demand, whatever the rails look
Right.
like. Whatever the
Yeah.
train changes, tracks on AI, whatever new system comes out, the end result is people still want their products some
Yeah.
way, shape, or
Yeah.
form.
I was in a big radio meeting one time, and we were syndicating radio shows all over the country. And at the time, they were done on tape, and the satellite was coming in, and
Mhm.
satellite was very expensive. But so we're in a meeting deciding if we're going to pony up the bucks and go on satellite, or if we just have the company keep doing tapes.
Yeah.
And there was one guy who hadn't said anything, Al Gordon, and we were really quiet. What do you think about the satellite versus the tapes? He goes, I don't care. It's like, what do you mean I don't care? I don't care. how can that be? He goes, I'm in the idea business. Whether you take my ideas and put them on the satellite or on a tape, I don't.
That's exactly how I think about it. It's a great story because that's what I've been taught over the years of watching technology from the internet come online after dial-up to, higher speeds, different systems, different platforms, technology changes. Now we're seeing AI come on board, and I take the same thing after 20 years of looking at this. I don't care what different system you use or whatever occurs. There's a structure of need and want, and one way or another, when people need or want things, they're going to get it. It's just a question of making sure you're in front of them on whichever rail that rides. I'm on the train and the products are on that train. If we have to switch rails, we switch rails. It's gonna be an opportunity, and you look at it like and chance to pivot. And I think a lot of people look at those as fear and they look at it as challenge. What do you say to the challenge? I think I know those who are listening on this call should hopefully understand what you're going to answer, but let's just say it out loud in your own words. What would you say to those people listening who feel like, hey, challenges are difficult. I don't know that this is going to work. I'm concerned about AI here. I'm concerned about what ifers. There's a lot of what
All right.
ifers,
Well,
right?
here's my fourth lesson for you, which
Fourth lesson.
yes, but fourth lesson, probably the most important lesson, is mindset. And
Mhm.
I've been blessed with whatever it is, having a big ego, just fearless or whatever on a lot of occasions. I think it was growing up around, auto racing and seeing people who were truly fearless and confident. But I always look at the downside and say, all right, that's the downside, big deal. Yeah, and again, it goes back to, if I see one other person doing it, I could do it too. So I
Yeah.
think it's mindset is what somebody really needs. It's like a belief in yourself and a belief in the market and what you're doing. And if you look at somebody and say, okay, that person needs, these people need toilet paper, right? I'm just, you know, these people need toilet paper, and somebody has to give it to them. And I have a different way to make toilet paper that people like. That is what you're going in with, and you have to believe in that. And if you have to believe in yourself that you're going to, not that you have the aptitude to do it, because anybody can do it, that you have the aptitude to stay with it. And that's the thing, you have to commit yourself. It's a business. It's not a brochure that you put up on the internet and
Mm,
people come to it and go, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world. I'm going to put this up and it will send me money. It's like, no, it's something you have to work every day. And it's literally like pushing the snowball up the hill, and you get it up the hill and then it goes down and then it just starts flailing and flailing and flailing. And that's what this is. Most businesses are that way.
yeah.
And what you're trying to
Yeah.
do is, for when I say you, I mean the universal you, me, everybody included, is you're trying to get your ecom business to a point where it kicks you out, where it says, the employees, whether they're AI or whatever, where the employees say, look, we got this. Go to Europe.
Yeah.
Go take a month off.
Take a 3 month
Do
off.
your thing. We'll
Mhm.
we'll put the money in the bank. You can look at it every day, right, to make sure we're not stealing from you. But you're done. Go enjoy. Go
Yeah.
create another company. Go go do this or that. But we have this. Leave us alone. That's a business.
That is a business. Yeah. And as you said, when we first got going, if you don't go into business with a target, then you are the target, right? It's very
Absolutely.
well said. Very well said. We can keep going on. We've already been at this for 25 minutes. So I'm going to give you 4 words. I just came up with this. It's totally random. You ready for this? I'm going to give you 4 words. First thing that comes to mind. Okay. First word is time.
Exponential as you age.
Can you clarify what you mean by that?
It means time becomes more valuable the older you get.
Well said. Energy.
Valuable. Most
Valuable in
valuable.
what way?
Hmm?
Valuable in what way?
Like valuable the way gasoline is valuable to a car. If you don't have the energy or can't create it, you don't have to have it. You just have to be able to create it. I've studied a lot of self-hypnosis and hypnosis, and you can take yourself and you can have all the energy in the world and you can bring yourself down to where you just have no energy. And the same is true. You can start out, get out of bed, oh, I got a headache, I got this, I got that. And you can focus on something really interesting and positive that is a token for energy, right? You can you can go to YouTube and you can watch high energy speakers. You can go to this. You can just walk out in the sun and look at the sun and look at all of that energy.
You can get
My
energized.
point is, you can go from A to B. It doesn't have to be. It's energy isn't something that's happening to you. It's something you're letting into your body, into your life. But you need the energy to keep going.
Yes,
So
you do.
that's why I say it's valuable.
I love it. Attention.
Did you say attention?
Attention. Yep.
I'm sorry. What's that?
Attention.
I'm missing with it.
I fell for it.
Attention is really, really important. And going back to that ADD in my personal life, I've never been diagnosed, but I have a feeling it's important. And it's important that you're you're attending to the right path, and you're paying attention to the little things, but also the big things, because you're the leader. I mean, even if you're a one person operation, you are the leader and you have to make those decisions. And do you know the difference, Neil, between a manager and a leader or a CEO?
I believe I do, but I want to hear your answer.
Okay, I heard this. I wish I would have created this, but it's great. Right. The definition between a leader and a manager. So leaders, the one they're going through a jungle, you're slashing and burning and trying to get through this jungle and going, we got to make our 10 miles a day, boys. And the leader is the one who climbs the tree, look around the jungle, and he goes, wrong jungle. And the manager's the one who yells up, but we're making so much progress.
Yes. I'm going to remember that one. That's awesome. That's exactly how it goes too.
I wish I would have thought of that.
That is a great one. Okay, last one, money. This is going to be relative to, your thoughts on money related to the business. People who are listening to this are wondering, how does money play into this, as it always does in business?
Money is a tool to get more money with. First time I ever heard that, Francis Ford Coppola said that. He goes, the only thing money is for is to get more money. It's a tool. And the more you do with it, the more you'll realize that that's true. We were talking about the return on cash, internal return in e-commerce. And it's just, look. I mean, when you look at what you put out for, you do your initial launch, let's just say, I don't know, $5,000, right? So say you order $5,000 worth of material, and then you put that out there, and that's going to make roughly, you're going to sell that for, I don't know, $15,000, $20,000. But your margin is, say, 25% on that. Okay. And your cost of goods sold is maybe 25%. So now you've made 100% on your cash investment.
Yep.
In one quarter.
Wouldn't that be nice to turn that over 4 times?
Now you're 400%.
That's right.
And that's if you don't put it back in. Now, what most people do is they're in the launch phase. So they get 5,000 profit, 5,000 they cost of goods sold. So spend it, they sell it, and say whatever it is, 25,000 sells for the revenue, and 10,000 hits their bank account. Well, they take the 10,000 and they double what they did last time. Now they got $50,000 and 20,000.
Yes.
Now I haven't even gone through it, but now you're getting on internal rate of return, something like 800% on your money in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I find that hard to get anywhere else, which is why I've stayed in physical products and double, triple, quadrupled, and 16 brands deep now, because I've found it's very difficult to get that rate of return anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if you find a really good stock that does that, I'd like to hear about it.
Well, I mean, if you want to go to the passive side of things, you just throw it all in a stock and ride it out and call it passive income when you get dividends. My ADHD doesn't allow that. Just why I don't invest in traditional stocks. I flipped and played the market a little bit, but mostly, I'm going to put money in physical products, because as they churn and grow, and you can compound that into a snowball effect each year, each quarter, each year on that return. And even if you're going to end up spending 50% of that on customer acquisition costs, you're still coming out with a 50% ROI on that money every quarter. So if you look at it in terms of compounding, that is an impressive and snowball effect that turns into a juggernaut. And I think a lot of people think about it, a business as they don't use the word investment right when they talk about it. Does that make sense? They use it in terms of, if I put money in now, how fast am I going to get it back? And my answer to that is, are you willing to invest in something for 5 years? Are you willing to invest in a future goal? And that's where a lot of people have a hard time seeing this. Does it make sense when I'm saying it this way?
It does and it doesn't. It makes total sense of what you're telling me and what the fears of these people are having. And
Yeah.
my wife had some of these fears when we originally talked about it,
Mm,
because she's got money in the bank and then there's spending, right?
mm.
And she's always been a W-2 employee. And I had to really do a reframe with her. And I had to, I explained, and it wasn't because she's one of the smartest people I know.
Yeah.
It's just she doesn't like to spend money. She doesn't like to, listen. And I told her, I said, look, this isn't spending money. I'm not just like buying a car or, Eric Clapton signed guitar or something like that. This isn't spending money. This isn't even investing. This is repurposing money. I'm buying inventory with this. Okay. And this inventory is worth 3 to 4 times what I paid for it.
Hmm.
It's not like, I can sell that and make my money back. And that's the difference between spending money in e-com and, if I spend money in e-com, it's as a buyer on Amazon.com or Walmart or
Right.
something,
A
right?
consumer.
Yeah, as a consumer.
Yep.
But this is an investment, and it's you're investing in your own business. A
Yeah. You're
lot of
investing in
people,
that growth.
if they bought I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
Go right.
If they bought like a gardening company, right, a landscaping company, that's a good thing to ask. How soon do I get my money back? Anything you're going to put in, but you're not going to get it back on the first lawn that you mow,
Yeah.
nor do you want to. You want to build the business up, and then it just keeps coming forever.
It's a juggernaut and a snowball, and as it continues to roll, it does become an investment in the potential exit of that business, as we talk about, that you're building that equity into that business for a future exit. You will get your money back. You won't if you quit. And I think that's where a lot of people have a struggle here. If you quit, you won't get it back. So when you get started, your object failure isn't the entire business. It might be some products that fail to meet expectations. So you move to another product and you keep going until the ones take off that recoup the investment and continue to grow that investment into profit. And from profit, you get into a exit opportunity, an intrinsic cashable value, a saleable asset. And that's where I hope so many people who are listening to this today hear what you've said, what we're echoing here today. You're investing in product that invests in a brand that creates intrinsic value and becomes an asset that you can sell. And that asset can be worth lots of money. And it can be repeatable, and you can do it a lot faster as you learn how to turn that money. As you said, you have a skill now that you can go take. And that's so amazing that you can take that and just go create something from nothing out of it and make money.
And it's cool as hell.
It's
It
fun,
is
isn't it?
so much fun. Branding is so much fun. If somebody hasn't done it and they're sitting out there, it's like, just do it for fun. Just go through the steps to see what it's like, because it's such a creative process. It's like you
It
go
is.
out there, you find a domain name that's not, that would work with it, that hasn't been taken, and play with the names and build a brand, play with colors, and then there's logos and stuff.
Creativity,
I mean,
man. That's fun. Seeing something come to life that somebody else wants. And then as you start to see it sell, you get that satisfaction that you can produce more of it and more people are going to want it. That's a
oh my,
cool experience,
I
right?
remember the first day that I got. This is so cool, and I'm sure it was same with you along.
Yeah.
The first day I got a unsolicited review online, and it was like a 5-star review, just glowing about what I did. And even better, the guy liked a lot of the stuff that I changed on the product. He called out, and it just like made me feel so great. It was like,
Love it. It's such a great feeling. It's such a great feeling. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing a good word, man. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to cover today?
my views on world peace.
World peas. I love world peas, especially when you put a little butter in them, some salt.
Exactly.
World peas. Yeah, you're a fun guy, and I appreciate you, man. You've been a solid member of the community, and all glory and to God for what He's done for you in your life and what you're doing for yourself. Cannot be understated. While we have helped you out, the truth of the matter is, as I say over and over again, you can't lead a horse to water and make it drink. And so I am grateful that you have drunk the water. Welcome to the cult, and executed on it, did the work, because that's on you, my friend, and you should get all the accolades for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a lot of great people in this community, and it's, it, I think I came along at the right time because, when I first started, we were still being taught to do spreadsheets.
Mhm.
And that's the one thing I wanted to mention was what you guys have. I wanted to thank you again because I thank you all the time. All the software you've created over the past year and a half, and all the AI stuff that you've implemented. Because now I think you're going to just get to a point where it's like, tell us what your brand is, push a button, and money spits out of the printer.
It's almost that close, dude. I can't wait to show you what we're doing with Greenhouse right now inside the Cayman data set that he's referring to, because it is literally now being AI enabled with multi-channel, as well as data aggregation, creation of copy, image creation, process and flat files that go out, and of course tracking of a market launch as well as a product launch, and a marketing engine that I'm building in the background myself that I'm going to give the development team here soon, that will take and market that into an omni-channel trackable and feedback loop. Just the systems are getting faster and easier, but that compounding opportunity is only going to distance those who are listening to this who aren't willing to try from those who are getting it done. And I will tell you this because I was a knowledge worker. That's when I got out in 2007. If you're in the knowledge working space and you're not building a physical based asset company right now that you can control the brand and outcome, less than 2 years, guys, I really think you're going to see some things change so dramatically, you're not going to be able to keep up. There is a window of pivot. I felt it when the internet came online. I'm sure you did too, Kelly, where I was just like, I'm out of here. I'm out of college. I'm going. And I spent those first 2 years learning how to get into the system that was changing and figure out where I could position myself for opportunity. And I happened to start as a developer, which I'd never developed in my life. And eventually that worked into a career and led me to IBM and led me to, eventually retiring from that and being, 20 years on my own. But I see that happening now. I see a 2-year window of pivot that if you are not doing what Kelly's doing, if you're not willing to be tenacious and figure out a process, even get into the physical product space that has an evergreen upside potential, you're going to miss the changing screen. It's so fast. It's changing so much every day. I can barely keep up with it, and I'm in the middle of it. And there's so many things happening at so fast a speed that I can't imagine what the rest of the world must feel like being drug along by this, because you're going to get affected one way or another. That's just going to be the end result.
Well, speaking of that, have you talked? I noticed your daughter's up there, your beautiful
Yes.
daughter up there. Have you talked to them about AI or what's their take? Because I had a really enlightening conversation with my daughter this morning, who's 26 years old.
Yeah.
What's their take on all of this?
So this one is on her second book writing. She's also runs the AI marketing campaigns for 8 of our brands internally when she creates all the sponsored brand videos and ad content for our Amazon accounts. And this one is now doing guidebook writing and material-based writing because she's having fun with that in support of this one's role over here. So yes, we talk about it all the time. They're ingrained in it. They're in safe levels of usage in terms of how they access it, and as well as, my oversight to make sure they understand what they're doing and how it is a tool. And I think people don't understand that it's not here to, don't try to replace yourself with AI. I think that's the mistake we're making. I think the opportunity is to consider it like a tool that has, a new tool. You might prefer this tool over that tool, but certain things in the industrial revolution and in technology and advancements allowed certain tools and other things to make it go faster and easier when applied with the right methodology, when applied to the right task, because that's where I think a lot of the younger generation is missing it. They don't know how to apply it to anything, so they're just playing with it. And in playing with it, they're learning some very bad lessons about what it can do for you, to you, mentally, and all the other things. And I think people that are my age, 50, and getting in the realization that their jobs have become replaceable with Claude Code's skill sets, that you need to be looking at how you reposition yourself. My daughters are getting a frontline experience on that every day, on how to adapt and move through that so that they understand how to use it and apply it in real world scenarios that will allow them to make money if I'm not here. All right. And that's an important aspect of training them up the right way, in my opinion. And that's also why we homeschool them, because I can give them the head down controlled usage of that tool set that we use, and specifically for what outcomes. And sometimes they don't like to use them because they think they're frustrating, which I like to hear sometimes too. I don't want them to become wholly dependent on AI. That's my take
No,
on it.
you have to. This is the thing, and this is the danger of AI is losing our critical thinking. And
Yes.
even AI warns about that. When I've said,
Yeah.
how do I use you best in the future? I want to have a zero employee company. How is that possible? And it's like humans need to not rely on AI for all the answers. They need to guide us and, be our bosses and decide what we're going to do as tools for them, not expect us to come up with all of these ideas.
That's right. That's right. And teach them life skills and assets. They're not going to, my oldest graduates. She's 17, 18 in June. She could have graduated last year, but we held her back because there's really not a whole lot more she can do in college is not on her radar because she already makes more money than she would going to college. So there's really no point for that. And the next step is for her to get her own brand going and publish her next book. And so the college bound is not where she would go. And if she were to go there, what skill sets would she learn there that takes 4 years to learn, 2 years if you can push it, that are not going to be replaced in 2 years at the speed of technology right now? That's the thing I think somebody listening to this really needs to understand. If your child is 17, 18, considering going to college, I would highly, highly recommend humbly that you find something for them to do that is a skill, a trade, or a business that they can create and build instead of deploying that capital into traditional learning, which is going to basically not teach you what we're talking about today until they come out with debt 2 years down the road. And most of the jobs that they would be trying to get into are going to be super expensive, super hard to get into, and already taken by those who've been doing them or replaced by AI. It sounds gloom and doom, but it's the same situation that happened when the internet came online. And having lived through that, we're just seeing it happen a little differently because the technology is a little smarter, moves a little faster now. And that makes it a little more cool and a little more dangerous at the same time.
It's fire. It can burn down the village, or it can eat the food and keep you warm.
100%. Man, you've been telling some good stories, brother. I could talk to you for another hour.
I know.
Yeah, no, this is not a complaint. I think those who are still listening should be getting some value, I hope, from this today, or share it with somebody who might need to get some value, guys. As always,
I hope so. I never know when I'm ranting and raving if anybody listens to me.
We're conversing. That's the podcast. We're talking. People are listening. I hope you guys are listening, and we'll see the comments and feedback later, and maybe some snide remarks. Maybe somebody will agree or disagree. I know a few people we've talked to about it. They're putting their heads in the sand a little bit, going, "My job will never be replaced. AI can't do my job." And I'm like, well, probably not 100% true. You might need to take a more rational look at that.
There's been resistance against every new innovation.
Change.
Remember the internet? All the people, I'm never going to fail. I'm a letter writer. I'm not going to.
Bill Gates himself. Why are we going to need 5 megabits of data space?
Yeah, didn't he say the most you'd ever need is 16 megabytes?
16 megabytes. That's right. 16. I said 5, but yeah, the internet will.
What a visionary.
What a visionary. Well, they figured it out fast. And I think that's the thing that if someone's listening to this today will recognize that pattern, maybe reinforce some of their thinking one way or another, guys. Even if you don't get into e-com, I think Kelly's life experience, his proof of being tenacious, and what will be his results from his experience will be published on our website later after this goes live with his permission. And then you guys can kind of see how his experience has gone down. Took him a little bit longer, but life got in the way. That's not really the point. Life will get in the way of any opportunity. That's your challenge and your opportunity to come over that hurdle and see the results because, as he said, you are going to focus on your business. You're going to focus on it for 3 to 5 years, not 3 to 5 minutes, not 3 to 5 months. Thus, you're going to keep pushing, keep going like Kelly, and the results will speak for themselves. Thank you for your time. Kelly, appreciate you coming on.
I just got to say one last thing.
Yes, sir.
You are harsh. You are a harsh person. You held your kid back in their senior year of high school?
In homeschool, so nobody really knows.
That is tough love, man.
No, she was like, I know it sounds bad when I say it that way, but quite honestly, she's doing exactly what she needs to do. The graduation was just like, well, we'll graduate you this year. You already passed. Take some few extra things, some higher level stuff she's doing now, which is into the second, third year of college in terms of the criteria that she's at now. So there really isn't any level farther than that she needs to go. So yeah, it sounds kind of bad when I say I hold her back, but honestly, we're trying to focus that energy and attention on its most purposeful path for her, and certainly going and dividing our house by sending her off to some place somewhere else is certainly not a path I'm going to encourage her to be on. That's not what we do in our house. Some people do that, but it's not ours. Yeah. So no, we held it back a little and said, hey, get that focus in line. It won't hurt anything. But like I said, she could have graduated when she was 17, early 17. Just didn't need to. What else are you going to do? Finish writing your book. Well, guys, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. A lot of fun, always.
All right, guys, remember, as I always say at the end of my podcast, do something imperfectly, and something perfect will happen along the way. As for now, imperfectly, click that like and subscribe button, comment, share this with somebody who needs to hear it, and we'll catch you on the next episode.